You are standing in a grocery store. You reach for a tomato. You don't think twice. You don't hesitate. You don't wonder whether putting that red thing into your body will shut down your nervous system. But for most of human history, that certainty didn't exist. Every plant was an unknown. Every berry, every root, every leaf was a problem that needed solving. And someone had to solve it. Someone had to go first. But that's not quite right. Because going first wasn't a sacrifice. It was a science. One that your ancestors developed, refined, and passed down, long before anyone had a word for science at all. We tend to imagine it as trial and error. Someone ate a berry. They died. The tribe remembered. Simple. But here's what's fascinating. That story assumes the answer came from death. It mostly didn't. The real knowledge came from something far older and far stranger than accidental poisoning. It came from your body itself. The human body is not a passive receiver of the world. It is a detection system, and it was running long before your first ancestor picked up a leaf. In 2013, Paul Breslin at Manel Chemical Senses Center in Philadelphia published research showing that human bitter taste receptors, the ones that make certain plants taste terrible, are not random. They are specifically tuned to detect alkaloids. Alkaloids are the chemical class that most poisonous plants use as a defense. Cyanide compounds, solanine, all bitter, all detectable by your tongue before they reach your stomach, which means your body already knew. Not through learning, not through memory, through biology. You didn't need to see someone die from a nightshade berry. Your face already made the calculation. The same grimace your child makes when you give them something bitter, that is not immaturity. That is a 500-million-year-old warning system working exactly as designed. But that's only half the story, because the tongue only catches some of what's dangerous. And the things it misses, those required a different kind of knowledge, one that couldn't live inside a single body. In 2002, Gary Paul Nabhan at the University of Arizona documented something that had been overlooked in ethnobotanical research for decades. Indigenous plant knowledge wasn't built by individuals. It was built by communities across generations, through a process closer to systematic observation than random chance. Healers would test a plant on a small area of skin before eating it. They would smell it. They would watch animals. If deer avoided a plant, that was data. If a specific animal ate it and showed no harm, that too was recorded. Your ancestors weren't gambling. They were experimenting. They were building a knowledge base so precise that modern pharmacology has spent the last century mining it. Roughly 25% of all pharmaceutical drugs in use today are derived from plant compounds that indigenous healers identified first. Now here's where it gets strange. Because this knowledge wasn't just practical. It was social. It was cultural. It lived in stories, in ritual, in the names given to plants across thousands of years. And when those cultures were disrupted, when the people who carried that knowledge disappeared, the knowledge didn't transfer to books. It just ended. The deepest layer of this isn't about plants. It's about what knowledge actually is. We think of knowledge as something written down, something stored, something retrievable. But for most of human history, the most critical survival knowledge on Earth, which plant heals, which plant kills, which root can be eaten in drought, and which will stop your heart, that knowledge lived inside people. Not in libraries, not in data, in living human bodies. And when those bodies were gone, that knowledge died with them. Researchers at the Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew have estimated that thousands of plant species still used in traditional medicine have never been formally studied. We don't know what's in them. We don't know what they do. Because the people who spent generations learning that information are no longer here to tell us. And that changes everything we think we know about what we've inherited from the past. We live inside a world built on knowledge we didn't earn. Every time you eat without fear, every time you reach for a fruit without hesitation, you are using the accumulated result of thousands of years of human observation, human suffering, human memory. And most of it was never written down. So the question isn't only how humans learned which plants were poisonous. The question is how much of that learning we have already lost, quietly, permanently, without ever knowing what was gone. Go back to that tomato. It's safe. You know it's safe. You've always known it. But that certainty came from somewhere. It came from people who didn't have certainty, who built it, plant by plant, generation by generation, in languages that no longer exist, in communities that no longer exist, with methods that looked nothing like what we call science. but were science. Paul Breslin measured the biology. Gary Paul Nabhan documented the method, but neither of them could restore what was lost. Your body still carries the warning system, the grimace, the reflex. The rest is silence.